All right, here's
Yeah.
the big question of the day. Are the 49ers contenders? They're 2-0. They, found ways to win at the end. Seahawks are tough. Winning 2 games on the road is never easy. Every time Kyle Shanahan started the season 2-0 as a Niners head coach, he's gone to the NFC Championship game at least. I think I expected 10-7 this year. I don't know if you expected 10-7 this year. Are you reconsidering how good you think the Niners are?
No, so before the year coming into this year, I thought the 49ers would go, win 10, 11 games, maybe more if everyone can stay healthy. I thought they would get to the playoffs. I thought they would probably win a game or two in the playoffs, and then I thought they would probably not make it to the Super Bowl. And I don't really change. My opinion really doesn't change on that. Of course, I would love to be surprised. I'd love to be wrong. If Brandon Ayuk can come back and contribute, Malik Mustafa, Brock Purdy gets healthy, Trent stays healthy, Kittle gets healthy, and they go on a run, anything is possible. They have the talent there. It's just, to me, with all of these rookies, it's hard to count on them to make you legitimate Super Bowl winning contenders. I think they're going to get close to the NFC Championship game, but like teams like the Packers look more complete than the 49ers do at this moment. But again, it's a long season. It's week 2. Anything can change, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at what the Niners did, the positive is that the games were close. They came from behind in the first one. Their defense sealed the victory. Robert Saleh's defense looks ahead of schedule. They're winning games while they're injured. They're going to get better as the season goes along. Theoretically, when like Demarcus Robinson and Brandon Ayuk come back, their schedule still is weak. But I guess the other way to look at it is, they squeaked by the Saints. Saints aren't good. Saints aren't going anywhere. Spencer Rattler was cool. I like Spencer Rattler, but he's never won a game in his career. So that team has a ways to go. The Seahawks have a good defense, but the Niners are better than the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is they've beaten 2 teams that they frankly should have beaten.
Yeah.
We talked about this schedule being pretty weak. It is. So they're
Yeah.
2-0. We all thought they'd be 2-0 at this point,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean that they'll be able to win a playoff game against the Rams or the Packers or the Eagles or the Commanders, or there's a bunch of teams in the NFC that are on paper more talented than the 49ers.
Seahawks in Seattle is a tough team. That wasn't, for me. That wasn't a give me. I didn't know. I like going to Seattle and playing a Seahawks team. They're good enough to in their house to be able to pull it off, and they almost did. Really, if it wasn't for Jake Tonjes making an incredible catch, they
Mhm.
probably do lose that game. So far they're kind of on track. When it comes to the Saints, man, the Saints are the bottom 5 team in the NFL.
Yeah.
So they should absolutely beat them. I don't care who your quarterback is. They should beat the Saints with Adrian Martinez. That's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but I fully expected them to beat the Saints. They're awful. So I don't think beating the Seahawks in their house, even though that was a good win, and then beating the Saints is necessarily like, oh, the season uh, now looks completely different than we anticipated. No, I thought they were going to get in the playoffs based on their schedule. The question is, when they get to the playoffs and they play these really, really good teams, are they one of them? Can they compete? Can they beat them? And they potentially could if they get healthy and they get hot and they get in a rhythm at the right time. They might be better than the Packers come week 17. But right now, the teams like the Packers look a lot better than the Niners. So they look just more complete, more ready. But anything can happen within the course of the season. And it doesn't matter who's looking like the top team in the NFC at this moment. It matters when the playoffs come.
Now, it is encouraging that we realize the Niners have 2 quarterbacks now, because
Yeah.
now they're not necessarily at the mercy of Brock Purdy's durability, which is clearly in question at this point. When Brock plays, they can win. When Mac plays, they can win. That's good news. Their defense, like, to me, the defensive line is a big question mark, and it wasn't really making plays for the majority of the game. I mean, Kamara was getting a lot of yards. Spencer Rattler was carving up the defense. But then when the game was on the line, they handled business 2 weeks in a row. So it's a very interesting team.
Yeah, man. I like this season because it's a lot of unknowns, a lot of young dudes. And at the end of the season, we could be like, man, this team has a ton of potential for the future based on how young they are. When you look at all the defensive rookies, they all look good, man. They all look like they have some type of potential. They look like they really nailed this draft. Obviously, it's too early to really determine that, but you got to be encouraged by what you see. Now, the offensive rookies are most of them are TBD, but at least on the defensive side, it looks like they might have drafted some guys that could, play for the 49ers for years to come.
I'm still skeptical that Brandon Ayuk's going to make much of an impact this year. His knee injury was huge. He had no offseason. We've seen a lot of players sort of struggle in their first year back from an ACL injury and then take off and regain their pre-injury form in year 2.
Yeah.
That could be him. That's sort of what I expect, although you never know. He's an incredible athlete. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like you're getting Demarcus Robinson in 2 weeks. And between Robinson and Pearsall and Jennings and Kittle and McCaffrey, that's pretty good. And if Connor Colby can sort of stabilize the offensive line and this defense can grow up quicker than we expect.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if they're a contender, but it's a team that should go to the playoffs, could win a wild card playoff game. It'd be interesting to see, though, like this could be what's interesting about the Jimmy Garoppolo era. 2019, number 1 seed, home playoff games, they roll. But then in 2021, they were 10-7. They started off slow. They won a playoff game in Dallas. They won a playoff game in freaking Lambeau. Brock hasn't done anything like that yet. So it'll be interesting to see. This could be a different test for the Niners if they have to actually win some playoff games on the road against teams that, again, are more talented than them on paper. In 2023, there was no team more talented than them on paper.
Yeah, so just talking about some of the things you said, Robinson is a good player. I agree with Brandon Ayuk. It's no telling what he's going to look like necessarily. I think most of those guys coming back from that injury don't really feel like themselves until a year after they're playing, right? It takes a year to get back into playing. So we'll see. But that wide receiver unit is very strong. It's one of the strongest, I think, that they've had in a long time, very deep. And then because I love what's his name? Kendrick Bourne. I love him. I've always loved him. And what else is great about Kendrick Bourne? Not that he's like some elite wide receiver, but his energy. He's a great energy guy, man. He's a great culture guy. So it's good that they have him. But one thing I wanted to bring up when talking about the 49ers and this year, another position group that I think may be the best that they've had in a very long time is that tight end group. George Kittle was out in this last game, and you really didn't notice. Not that I'm turning my nose up at George Kittle. He's fantastic. And if he was there, they would have been much better off. But Jake Tonges and Luke Farrell, to me, with George Kittle, that makes the best tight end room they've had in a long time. Farrell got a touchdown in this game. Tonges made a game-winning touchdown. Like, he made that play. Like, Brock threw it there, but 14.8% chance of completing that pass, and it was all Jake Tonges that made it work. So Farrell is really good at blocking. Tonges was blocking for Farrell on that touchdown. This looks like a really solid tight end room behind George Kittle. That's another reason to think that they could maybe make a run this year.
Also, you mentioned something that I wanted to talk about. I like the energy is kind of a intangible thing to talk about, but it's real. And I feel like last year the energy was awful. He had the Super Bowl hangover and the Brandon Ayuk holdout, and there was all this bitter feelings. And then you had like the people who were like on the team but not on the team, like Devondre Campbell, who we call what's his face.
Yeah.
You had Nick Sorensen as the defensive coordinator. The defense felt lifeless. The offense choked every time. It was a close game, just like in the playoffs. It felt like a team that didn't really like being together. Now, the defense seems reinvigorated with Robert Saleh and all these young guys. The offense seems to be having a lot of fun with Kendrick Bourne, and Mac Jones, and Christian McCaffrey back. And I don't know. It seems like a much more cohesive team. Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code COHN, COHN, and download the app now.
There's another one that's big. I know Eddie Pinero missed his extra point. I'm gonna say that, hey, that's first game back.
No more
I'll write that one off.
But
he made his 2 field goals. No Debo, but Jake Moody's energy. That
Yep.
Jake Moody energy is gone. That
Yep.
whole like anxiety and everyone on pins and needles, like, is he gonna
Yep.
make it? Is he not gonna make it? And his
Yeah.
almost like a depressed,
Yeah.
negative, moody energy, right? Is
Correct.
gone. And Eddie Pinero has great energy. So hopefully he continues to make his kicks and we don't miss extra points. But the field goals were nice. That's another rejuvenated part of this team, energy wise, that it helps for long term success.
Also with Debo, it felt like we got the Niners got the worst of Debo last year because he knew he was on the way out. He knew that he wasn't going to be a 49er much longer. So I think he was like not really bought in with the team. He was clearly about himself and his stats, which is, natural in that situation for any wide receiver in his position. But he's gone now. And now he can go play hard for Washington. He's doing that. And the Niners don't have to worry about appeasing him. They can spread the ball around. And the person who's in his situation this year, who's probably not going to be back next year, is Jawan Jennings. And I just want to give him credit, at least so far. He's been exactly the same as he's always been, playing hard, doing good stuff for the 49ers, not being a problem. So that's good. He was key in this game.
Attitude wise, Jawan Jennings great. I do think he looked good in this last game, but he didn't look as good as I've seen him, honestly. He dropped a couple passes that I think he normally would have caught had he had a training camp. He probably would have caught those things. So he's another guy that I expect.
He didn't have much time with Mac Jones. He really hasn't had much time with Mac Jones.
Correct. Yep. And Mac Jones put a couple hot ones right on his hands, and he dropped them. So that's not typical for Jawan Jennings. Third and Jawan, he dropped a third down opportunity in this last game. He did have that big touchdown, but I don't think we're seeing Jawan Jennings at 100% right now either. I think he's nursing an injury, and I think he missed a ton of work in training camp. So this 49ers wide receiver room is going to improve greatly as you start getting guys off suspension, guys back healthy, guys that have had time to develop and get into football shape like Jawan Jennings. Maybe if they can work Watkins into the mix. But that is encouraging for this season, man, because this wide receiver group is going to get better as the season goes on. And that's something to be happy about.
You know, and real quick, time on task with Mac Jones and practice this offseason? Jordan Watkins. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Can I real quick,
you know who caught that deep ball from Mac Jones in the preseason? Jordan Watkins. Kyle, here's my suggestion, Kyle, if you're watching. Do not play Jordan Watkins. He's not ready. He's going to make you look bad. Whatever you do, keep playing washed vets over that extremely explosive wide receiver because he's absolutely not ready. Don't do it. Okay.
Real quick. Ricky Pearsall had a sneaky good game yesterday. I know he only got 4 passes. Player. He's a really good player. He made every catch that came his way. Ricky's a good player. I think Ricky's a solid wide receiver too on this team. And so this wide receiver room looked like it was going to be a problem coming into the season. And maybe with all these injuries and contract situations, that actually is going to benefit them in the long run because they had to find alternatives. But I think this wide receiver room is going to be really good and deep as the season goes on. And Ricky Pearsall is going to be a big part of that.
I think he's essentially the replacement for Brandon Ayuk in the offense while Ayuk's out because the other receivers are more like short to intermediate receivers, McCaffrey, Kittle, Jennings, and they're all so good. And Brock is so good at finding them quickly in stride that defenses really have to focus all their attention on that area of the field. And if you forget about Ricky Pearsall's 30-yard catch, and we saw that a lot with Brandon Ayuk in 2023. People were so freaked out about everyone else that really they didn't understand that Brandon Ayuk was the X factor in the whole offense, and he was the guy who was going to beat you the quickest. That could be Ricky this year, although he hasn't scored a touchdown yet.
No, but he's very smooth out there, man. It's funny. He gets open. He's faster than he looks. He doesn't really look fast to me. When I'm watching him, he doesn't look fast, but he is really fast, has some explosiveness to him. He's very smooth with his route running. He just kind of slithers through everything, gets open. So I think like if Brandon Ayuk can get back, get healthy, and then you got Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings, and then what's his name comes off suspension. I don't know why. I can't remember. Demarcus Robinson comes off suspension. Then they still got Jordan Watkins back there. They got Kendrick Bourne. I mean, this is a really pretty damn good wide receiver room. So it's part of the formula for success.
One of the things I like about Ricky, Like, he's replacing Debo. He's just such a better wide receiver than Debo. He's not necessarily a better player than Debo, but I think of Debo as more of like a running back. Like, his plays are an extension of the running game. They're end arounds and screens and things where he doesn't really have to run a route to get open. And I think we've seen the Niners running game has been a little bit of a struggle the last couple of weeks. I wonder if that's partially because teams don't have to worry about Debo and McCaffrey anymore. It's just McCaffrey. But as a receiver, I mean, the speed, the route running, the shorthandedness, Debo was dropping a lot of passes, and this guy doesn't have the longest arm. He's not going to be making these physical contested catches, but he'll catch the ball if he's open and it's on him, which is good.
Yeah, man. I mean, Debo's a cannonball, man, but you got to get him the ball. You kind of got to figure out ways to get him the ball. And then once he gets the ball, he's dangerous. What I like is that the 49ers have moved on from players that might end up being really good. Should we keep them? No, because they're not right for this team right now. Debo was one of those guys. He just needed a fresh start. Jake Moody's one of those guys, just needed a fresh start. Jake Moody might end up being fantastic down the line for some other team. And the 49ers, if they wanted, could have waited and struggled through that whole mess to bring that out of them. And I'm glad they didn't. And same with Debo, man. Like, Debo's having a pretty damn good year so far with the Commanders. But I just think it was time to move on from the 49ers. And I'm not sure Debo would have been as good on the 49ers this year as he is on the Commanders. I think it was addition by subtraction with him, particularly as a wide receiver. His hands aren't very good, for being real here. So I think it is an upgrade, especially once all these guys get healthy.